A human cadet enrolled in the Fiercest Alien Warrior Academy and laughed sci-fi stories. The shuttle door hissed open with a sound like a predator inhaling, and 16-year-old Jackson Vera stepped onto the landing pad of the Varkith Combat Academy, the most feared institution in the galaxy. The academy wasn't built to educate. No, it was built to forge soldiers out of raw flesh and stubborn souls, to take the promising young warriors of alien empires and grind them into elites who could crush fleets, command legions, and intimidate enemies before a blade was even drawn. No human had ever enrolled here before. Humans were clever, resourceful, and troublesome to be sure, but they weren't known for their prowess. At least, not compared to the Yerathi, scaled reptilian titans with talons sharp as steel, or the Xerix, four-armed insectoids with carapaces harder than human battleship armor. And yet here Jackson was, a wiry boy with nothing more than a duffel bag, a smirk, and a laugh that carried far too easily in a place soaked with tension and blood. Beginning, the outlier in the arena. The arrival hall brimmed with cadets of every imaginable shape, winged, scaled, armored, horned. Some towered over him, others bristled with claws, others hissed through mandibles. Each cadet wore armor pieces symbolizing their house and species pride. When Jackson stepped forward, whispers hissed like venomous wind. A human? What joke is this? Fragile bones, weak muscles fodder for the first spar. He won't last the week. Jackson's smile only grew wider. He gave a small bow, the kind his grandmother taught him when greeting elders back on the colony world of Eltura. Then he laughed. It wasn't a nervous laugh, not even mocking. It was a laugh of genuine amusement, as if he found all this posturing endearing rather than intimidating. That laugh would become his weapon, though no one knew it yet. The headmaster, a towering Varkathi general with skin like molten iron, slammed his spear into the ground. Sparks cascaded. Cadets, you are here to become more than you are. Only the strong will survive. Only the merciless will rise. This is the Warrior Academy. Here, you are nothing but prey until you prove otherwise. His burning eyes landed on Jackson. And you, human, have you come here to die? Jackson chuckled, then shrugged. Not today. The hall erupted in growls and laughter, not supportive laughter, but mocking, derisive, cruel. Yet Jackson kept smiling, as if their scorn was entertainment. Middle, trials of blood and fire. The first weeks were chaos. The Academy's initiation gauntlet broke half of the cadets. Combat drills pitted them against each other. Forced marches across acid swamps tested endurance, and psychological trials warped their minds with illusions of failure. Jackson? He wasn't the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the fiercest. Against a Yerathi, he was outmuscled. Against a Xerix, he was outarmored. Against a winged Dravari, he was outmaneuvered. By every metric, he should have been crushed. And yet, when the Yerathi tried to break his ribs during sparring, Jackson laughed even as he rolled away, turning his smaller size into agility. When the Xerix struck him down, Jackson laughed as he feigned weakness, only to throw sand into their many eyes. When the Dravari soared overhead and mocked him, Jackson laughed before rigging their wing harness with a clever knot that sent them spiraling mid-flight. Every defeat was met not with despair but humor. Every humiliation was turned into a joke. At first, it infuriated the others. How dare this fragile human laugh in the face of pain, loss, and blood? But then slowly they began to realize that his laugh was not weakness. It was defiance. It was armor. The instructors noticed too. He bends, but does not break, one murmured. He loses battles, but never the war, another observed. And in the evenings, when the bruised and battered cadets nursed wounds in silence, Jackson told stories. Funny ones. Strange ones. Stories of Earth's oceans, of Eltra's twin suns, of how humans solved problems not with claws but with wit, persistence, and laughter when nothing else remained. Little by little, enemies became listeners. Rivals became reluctant allies. And then came the day of the Great Trial. The Great Trial. Proving grounds. The cadets were herded into the arena of ash, a colossal pit where generations of warriors had either risen to glory or been buried in failure. The trial was simple. Survive the beasts. Gates opened, and monstrosities poured forth, creatures bred for slaughter. A six-headed serpent that spewed fire. A shadow panther that melted into darkness. A colossal warbeast whose footfalls cracked the ground like thunder. The cadets fought valiantly. The Yerathi clashed with claws against steel. The Xerics swarmed in four-armed fury. The Dravari dove from the sky. And Jackson? He laughed. Not recklessly, strategically. He darted between the giants, baiting beasts toward stronger cadets, turning their rage into chaos. He shouted jokes mid-battle, riling up his peers just enough to spark their pride and fury. "Hey, six heads. You look like my grandmother's stew," he yelled, sprinting past the serpent. "Panther. Buddy, you call that stealth? I can still hear you breathing." The others found themselves emboldened, their fear lessened. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting together. And in the chaos, Jackson orchestrated opportunities. The Yerathi delivered killing blows, but only because Jackson had baited the monster into their claws. The Xerics struck vital points, but only because Jackson distracted the beast with mockery. The Dravari delivered a final strike from above, but only because Jackson tripped the warbeast into the open. By the trial's end, blood soaked the arena floor, beasts lay slain, and cadets collapsed in exhaustion. But they had survived, all because of the human who laughed. The turning point, recognition. When the dust settled, the headmaster approached Jackson. His molten eyes studied the boy as silence stretched across the arena. Then, slowly, the Varkathi general smirked. "You are not the strongest, human. You are not the fiercest. But you are dangerous in ways they are not." Jackson grinned back. "Guess I'll take that as a compliment." From that day onward, Jackson was no longer the joke of the academy. He was the strategist, the spirit, the glue. He wasn't feared for his fists but for his mind and his refusal to break under pressure. Ending the human weapon. Years passed. Jackson trained, fought, endured. He learned alien combat styles, adapted them, and twisted them into something uniquely human. By graduation, he wasn't the strongest cadet, but he was the leader they followed. On the final day, when the academy's banners were raised and cadets stood in formation, the headmaster proclaimed, "Among us stands a human who entered as prey, yet leaves as predator. He taught us that laughter can wound deeper than blades, that defiance can be stronger than armor." Today, the academy claims him as one of its own. The crowd roared, not in mockery this time, but in respect. Jackson stepped forward, his smirk unchanged, his laugh echoing through the hall. For in the most dangerous academy in the galaxy, among the fiercest warriors ever born, the boy who laughed had carved his place. And as the stars awaited, Jackson Vera, the human cadet who dared to laugh, was ready to command them.